Dharma ya Namo Sangha Namo Guru Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya Namo Guru Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sanghaya Kanden Laje Gunje Toga Ragara Shosa Bongde Chonze Chöye Gyabo Gunje Losan Seda Jeba Nede Sheso Denye Nanga Singde Bende Chizu Lama Jebe Zunga Dalo Debe Senam Shinjo Denpa Yeje Geja Shusu Sheje Chungun Jebe Lode Geza Nabe Jinjo Leche Chabe Beje Lame Zem Tongde Tembe Tende Laja Yewo Chiye Nazo Medo Tishen Dobe Langsen Deja Wensha Yidu Chudin Yazo Shena Xingzhuo Qela Qeba Kanshi Tongmen Dune Saba Lingwa Yiso Mige Yi Kebarang Dongba Sunye Mede Ningne Juban Takbu Soso Ningmen Dude Mangde Robla Shuje Bangbe Denjo Denye Gombo Cheje Labjin Zeba Daja Samban Ta Chizu Lama Damba Kenam Shugu Kala Chenze Jinti Chedara Sambe Duje Sema Sabje Cheje Chawa Abdo Namda Yuse Yingle Xingba Songju Gola Do Minga Tame Nango Sugu Rabda Sede Bado Mino Demba Dazo Chini Sabe Gewa Dendan Rowa Gunla Kebaran Chizu Losan Chakba Denbe Ningbo Rendo Seje Mingme Zebe Dejin Jenre Chime Kimbe Wangbo Jambe Tebo Malu Zomze Sanwe Kanjin Kebe Zugjen Zonga Losan Chabe Mingme Zebe Dejin Jenre Se Chime Kimbe Wangbo Jambe Tebo Malu Zomze Sanwe Kanjin Kebe Zugjen Zonga Losan Chabe Shabla Sowa Mingme Zebe Dejin Jenre Chime Kimbe Wangbo Jambe Tebo Malu Zomze Sanwe Kanjin Kebe Zogin Lozan Chabe Shamla Sowa Pande Zabe Lama Rimbo Daso Chiguro Bende Densho Gadi Chenbyo Kone Cheso Gusong Toji Wudu Zedo Pande Zabe Lama Rimbo Daso Ingara Bende Densho Gaden Chenbyo Kone Chodan Timo Ngudu Zendo Banden Zabe Lama Rimbo Daso Ingen Bende Densho Gaden Chenbyo Kone Cheso Changju Ningbu Ba Denba Yo Masan Jume Shera Pal 마제 망가 남게 오고 소소 라리 이제 주요 대선 장제로 대안타 가데 바라 삼가 보데야 소하 대안타 가데 바라 삼가 보데야 소하 대야사 바라 보데야 소하 게레 동다 자조 치와 대왕당 템반 조시 다시 된자 네네 안조 요사시베니 조 아이제이메도 선지도 미워예 로고요 너무 너이제야로 제마요 예당고로란다만데 니안다요 제단소제 종남라 장정방도단해야소 나게 주주론 집에 소놈제 안도라 제단소제 종남라罗拉面子3年中没人学，罗拉面子3年中没人学。
sebje tabje to tabja la na mo yang da to so ye ko mo ren bu chi ne ge ta ba cha ye chi de tabe shue se ni bu kun sha ju se je ma se se dan se ba.
Let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it bodhicitta motivation, or the altruistic motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of all other sentient beings. And with that kind of at least altruistic bodhicitta motivation, we should in this Bodhisattva's discourse. on the perfection of samadhi or concentration, chapter number 8.
Ngoda di shunzum dire da kaza dakhye nyamje gomba tambo dakhye nyambo goyati nyambo goyati tela ti peyon ti odi dima shuari yes.
So in this chapter, we talked quite a bit about in the context of equalizing and exchanging self for others. We talked quite a bit about the importance of and the benefits of equalizing self with others, in Tibetan called Dakshin Nyamba. Seeing the self and others kind of exist on equal footing.
Sumba tidaras kumbe peyon tidara jun so de kundi shesem tidara dakhye nyamba gomba rangi sim june sim chejir koba jeva ti tse bime lendu je tsudi shin sim je dungem tada shewala tajik deus ngomba gawe de shewe tasu shewa tongana pena medo be me soje yonsu kame chuzo yidi yonwas ru chada cha ngangba nam gashi chowe seye jobata de she dungere dombe sheri rang dunge shewo jong laya devasi begones Nye nang ni jara de mese be dunga dang de mena me pariang rang ngang to shen de ju number jorde ning ji xian jirwa de da jing du xian dong ba xi la xue yi ji dunga zhong se ja me xian ji dunga se to dunga xian bu jiang那么民主为现在这个建立行动正在凝结的一年，抗战那边把它搞定吧，这是我的心呢，现在吃，东西上那一看了就现的，城市是把东西没，这东西就要看，这了阿拉他们工作炸。人你现在我感觉写作的小学生这来讲，考试恐怕得把呢，学习东西去天南，上天的话他你讲，那边不样就不是，那年我是我，那他们出书这说是，我听人讲的，可是什么他可朋友是那这鬼把手。Because the Gubaji you did because there that the Dashi Yabat go Yabajigba. They are doing the Wajigba because they are all the God donation never made to deliver you. See what you go with Yabasigra. Condi shares Simbatida Dashi Yamagoba Rang Sim Yun. Chijir kobo jiwa ti tse, bime lindu tse di xin simchi kuyi dunga tada xiwa la, taji ngoba kawa, ti xiwa tapsu jiwa towa na asi. Chida towa na, do bime so yung su kobo, do yidi yung ru, sha ngangba na, gashi zhe tse juba tar, di tang di, tar tu, Xie dunga le debe, xie rang le dunga shenpa shuma yang, dewa sibe guwa ne xie. Nyewe nang ni je radi me sibe dunga de debe, namye pa yang. Rang dong pa xie le karsa, namye pa yang. Namye pa yang, rang nga go de, zho xie de, zhu namba jirde. Yin xie xiong chuba, ta, Chuba ta jing du xin dong ba yi de. Xue yi ji dung zhong se jam ye la. Xi dung se tong dung se bo jiang. Xin bu jiang nan ba min ju xie de da ya jian le. Jian le xin dong zhong de ying jie de yi jie. 考虑那边吧，有这都我这是现在这大地可是呢，你大些年吧，可能可是有时呢，那这现在东西是他们住的了呀，什么包着可是这个是，这不个那没有东西的了，如果说那了，你没到北面做的，靠边被另个什么基本这些能说的，差不多么都就是这个东西那不是这样要么是，我第。像俺把子被可是改些的和北面说如果我的这个人是，我这里也东西弄这个咱要么是，对我是被过年是，因为那你讲热的没事被东西，那这边那边不一样，让个这些的就那么做的是，我这样，可是他东西现在的话说。다 누가 시켜 남의 누가 지고로 세 남의 누가 저 통선을 들어야 아니 거에 셀 줘나 시운 좋도 그랬어 어디서
So we are in chapter 8 on samadhi, or the perfection of concentration, and we are on page 121 of this English translation done by Stephen Batchelors. And we are looking at stanza number 107 that reads, thus, because he loves to pacify the pains of others, he whose mind is tuned in this way would enter even the deepest hell, just as a wild goose plunges into a lotus pool, unquote. So as Geshe explained, we are here, focused on benefits of equalizing self with others. Equalizing self with others is done at the attitudinal level. In other words, as Geshe explained, that we wish for happiness for the self, and we do not wish for any kind of suffering. Now we label that with everybody else, that nobody else wishes for suffering, they all wish for happiness. So in terms of those aspirations or the wishes, self and others are just the same. So if we truly recognize and feel that way, then we can never feel that, I deserve happiness and the suffering should go to somebody else. Yeah, because we cannot think that way, because we are equalizing our attitude on that level. Just as I wish for happiness, others wish for happiness too. Just as I do not wish for suffering, others do not wish for suffering. So we are same on that level. So by familiarizing ourselves with that kind of attitude, which is called equalizing self with others, then we certainly enjoy some great benefits. Of course, the examples we have here are the real bodhisattvas, and the bodhisattvas have such attitude. And so because of that, bodhisattvas are under the influence of karuna or compassion. And even if they need to go into the deepest hell called avicii hell, narme, they are willing to do that in order to help others to be free from that state, or to help them get rid of their suffering, if need be. So bodhisattvas, in terms of their attitude, they are ready, they are willing to do that. Why? Because they are under the influence of karuna or compassion. And so for them, if need be, that they need to plunge into the average hell to help others, that will not bring even the slightest mental stress or suffering at all. Yeah. The example given here is how a wild goose plunges into the lotus pool very happily and joyfully. And so just like that, bodhisattvas joyfully and under the influence of compassion are willing even to go to that extent of going into the most torturous hell, right? Which is to say that for any other kind of suffering of others to help them, Buddhists are always ready. If they are ready for the worst kind of situations, they're ready for any other suffering if that's less than that. And as Geshe explained, so this is the kind of determination Bodhisattvas have, that if need be, I'm willing to engage in actions, and the ripening results of this action may be to plunge into the most torturous hell just to help others. I'm willing to do that, so that they do not get scared, or they are not afraid of such ripening effects. And why Bodhisattvas are able to do that? Because they have great compassion, and they have habituated their mind in terms of equalizing self with others.
我就在地空中的多的眼的这样眼里，行动中的凝结的人呢，看着那边把杆子嘛，这是我的心呢，心的是，东上那的可能就写的，上就是把东西没，准备东西就要看，得了，这东西就要看，得了，他不滚就炸。人的行动，我有个人就是写作到小学生这来讲，小学生这我的时候说，可以可别带吧呢，现在东西去车呢，上台的话他呢讲，那么把样就把些，那呢我是的我那呢特别去路错这说是，我的空的地在开始，的。见多的见些，因这里个人小就是比我这里空着多，现在这里那没有的话，这个不是，可是东亚的中国呢，节目上就我那引入多，真的别谈别小就是把是谈把什呢，你们开发件这个是吧？我这老的空等于小就是什么就是这个是吧？我至少给出去，其他干部我其他个那边我这全部认识，我这是个谁的？
So in the commentary that Geshe is reading from, as we saw before, they have cited Sutra Alankara, or Ornament of Mahayana Sutras, Dodegen in Tibetan, and Changju Semtel, Arya Nagarjuna's commentary on Bodhicitta. So in these, textual sources, they have stated that bodhisattvas, because of their compassion and care for others, that if need be, they are willing to go to the extent of plunging into the avijji hell, the most torturous hell, if that means to help others, overcome their suffering or get rid of their suffering. So therefore, bodhisattvas are called Kivuttamba, which means sublime, and sometimes we translate holy beings. Why? Because they have familiarized and habituated their minds with the development of paths, lam. And so because of such habituation, familiarization, so bodhisattvas are willing to do such things for others.
我的在行动的高呢，对我说的就ว่า明白，这这个就特别的，他最晚就是小看见行动的别 see the Gosho Maris, Tabe Deva Shoris, the love in the sequence. Yana Rando Yawa Don, Yixi, he no conal, Drew, Simjanamni, Nakaza Simjanamni, Julian Shima, Jibusive Dungan Le Joa, Dungan number 2, Yixi Don shows you sympathy, wrong David on the Botreva, Shovies, to you go, Jazo Tai, will come on, you are coming, but he short by men of days. Here the Cheva the puppy door. They got took you the Cheva, the mother shit. More tea, Moji Simba in jail. Ronji with the doors on Tobani, they were rotten, Treve, did the see. Taba de Shisha Shiva Day. Japedam, Geshe so said. Rode Tabeji Sha, She Sumba, Shebo, this Hila, Pende Gave, Gawa, Gaden, told Cheva the Papa Invis, that then the wrong Chibu, she did la show road to the Choa Yi, then those. But the wrong Chibu, the Shawaj. Tabatabit Dawata, Shadong, Pugashi, Dawan, Sina, anything, Shadow, Dawat, Gasha, Shazaba, take a Dawa, take 7 juries. So that the Tabe Dawat to the thing Tabe Dawat, Kala, the Muslim, Ruju, the Yomaris, or that. That Shadow, Gasha, Shita, till the Dawat, Gasha, would do the Toyo Shagaris. Shaza. 저주스바솔 엔 소소를 피게 되어면 행동 today 시기는 어디 가디 소소 되어 타베 되어 타벌리 가와셔야 이때가 디그레스가.
So as Geshe read from the commentary, and as if critique comes up with this kind of argumentation, or so to speak, a claim that the bliss or happiness of nirvana, the Tibetan term is dewa. So the bliss or happiness of nirvana is supreme, and the bliss or happiness of benefiting others is not supreme, right? So that is the critique it brought forth. Now, in response to that critique, stanza number 108 reads, will not the ocean of joy that shall exist when all beings are free be sufficient for me? What am I doing wishing for my liberation alone? Unquote. So that's the Bodhisattva's really way of thinking, isn't it? So Bodhisattvas do not find bliss or the happiness of personal liberation from samsara as very enticing and metaphorically speaking, flavorful. It's not a flavorful dish. Okay. Bodhisattvas find a lot more joy, bliss, or happiness dedicating themselves to benefit others. Yeah. The kind of joy that they experience helping others is exemplified this metaphor of, ocean of joy. Yeah. So when they can experience an ocean of joy working for others, why would they forsake that and go for the joy of nirvana that is much less, right, joyful with me? But the Bodhisattvas know that, altruism brings extensive benefits for others. Just simply working for one's own nirvana is very limited, and it really is not a flavorful dish. They find, benefiting others out of great compassion is enjoying, right, a flavorful buffet, So why wouldn't you want to do that? Why would you want to go for a lesser kind of a joy, so to speak? So that's why, bodhisattvas do not pursue their personal nirvana. Instead, they are pursuing enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Yes.
我这日别过的些个嘛，样没把钱说的嘛，然后才变，说是他要得给我的到，甚至他们啥，他们有可能我要给我是加些个些的，哎，你说是好像这个东西是吧？甚至才没这甚至长的娘把不给长要嘛，这个娘把这个培养透过现在这种子，说是他说是果他把同学接到，甚至都你这些的呀，他们这些个公共国家个甚至你的这个。都是我的主要是我的这是有的我是我的。
So what we have just in here is not something we have to believe just by faith. This is something that stands with reasons, isn't it? We can bring rationality or reasoning, Rigpa, as Tibetans say. And I'm thinking about that. You know, nirvana from samsara is just only to do with one person, you. That's just one. Enlightenment is for the sake of countless sentient beings. Yeah. So imagine that whatever happiness one finds just only pursuing one's personal goal versus pursuing kind of a more extensive altruistic goal that benefits innumerable sentient beings. Of course, by reasoning, it makes sense that will bring you more satisfaction and more joy, right? We just don't have to believe it by faith, you know, just through rationality, we can appreciate that.
我这他的感觉这个行动可是加这样的可是呢，行这个同时有什么样他要么是吧？现在什么人这位朋友头是吧？说是他们同学，说是他们同学朋友什么需要嘛是吧？现在至少在对他日本国的中国人么子样，没法修个啥的嘛是吧？是什么都能好过，但是呢。没这个朋友了，这你的朋友多了，朋友些个了，我这什么都这个的嘛，是不是他们说，是不是给啥他要么的，说是他们都要给啊，这个他要了，没去给啊，看啥这个头你了哇？现在这上阵的呀，日本样到跟中国人么子样，没法修个啥的，给什么了哇
？So this, you know, point that we just made, as Geshe says, is something we can establish through, you know, valid reasonings. It's not something we have to just believe in by some kind of blind faith or by the power of the faith, you know. And so altruism covers the well-being of all sentient beings. That's numberless, countless, isn't it? Seeking nirvana is very limited goal. It's just you for one's own sake. And think about in general, if you help one person versus you help 2-3 people, which is more beneficial, obviously, right? Helping 2-3 people. So like that, with altruism, when we do something, right, it is as if we have done that action in relation to every sentient being, and sentient beings are countless in number. So therefore, the merit that we accumulate is immense. Whereas if only think about one person, the merit is limited. There's just one. Yeah. So by reasoning, we can appreciate and establish that you know, why bodhisattvas do the things they do. Why do they, you know, choose to benefit others instead of pursuing their, you know, personal, you know, nirvana, you know, from samsara.
我的大体就是这个可是。现在都是行动高要消费，就真的在行动的呀，就真是可是现在身边当件事，而且说说也怕的马修的上的他，他的叫他们没有做着，那甚至他让怕马修些，他联系没有上的些，现在他这个呀，才让俺们固定是这样的，那个偏大小，他里怕偏连是这个是老古是弄修呢。你现在也不是这个人，你的呢，说说你要骗都给看啥这个，希望也不行个，你们是看了吧？那我这就老行了，他看别个，其实他这里应该看那我也不弄凶说是搞笑是这样想的嘛。我听到是这个意思嘛，
So the rationality that we're talking about, it includes how bodhisattvas, they feel that all sentient beings have, benefited them since beginner's time until now. Even if we only think in terms of becoming your mom and dad, right? It's not like they have become your mom and dad only once or a few times. They have done that countless times. And so as your parents, they have certainly made incredible sacrifices for you. And now Bodhisattva feel that I have this opportunity to appreciate, right, all the sacrifices sentient beings have made for me. And so being able to dedicate to promote the well-being of others, that brings them so much, satisfaction and joy. I'm thinking in general, right? If somebody helped you at the time of the need, so now your condition has got better, and then you have an opportunity to kind of pay back the kindness a little bit, you feel really good, don't you, right? Right? You say, wow, at least I have a chance to repay the kindness, right? Now, this is Bodhisattva with all sentient beings we are talking about. So how much of gratefulness and satisfaction is that,
我这个大体就这个这个，所以说台湾同学现在，台湾主要就是这个什么，这个看看片头嘛是吧？行动什么的时代呢？什么的别行动主要时代，台湾的学找这个么是行动下这些，要台湾主要是老是过嘛了，现在行动下台湾上的。行动都要找图，然后台湾这些我们投这个是，过你咋这个用这个是吧？所以台湾同学是，所以台湾这么一些，你要推不到超人用来面上，我的日本国的现在那都的，你行动是不的要些决定的多多，我听一下。
So even by reasoning, we know that if one pursues one's nirvana from samsara, that's just based upon what I want. I want to be free from samsara. And even if we achieve that state called liberation or nirvana, it's very limited, isn't it? It may help some others, but it definitely doesn't help all sentient beings, right? So it's a very limited scope and very limited goal achievement there, But on the other hand, if we genuinely feel and dedicate ourselves for others, just the bodhisattvas do, when you achieve enlightenment, your own need is taken care of. It is not like that, you remain somewhere and, everybody else has gone somewhere, isn't it? When you achieve enlightenment, without need to work for your own goal, by the way, right? Dedicating for the sake of others, you become Buddha, so you're not left behind. Your own goals achieved also, right? And the altruism is so extensive and vast, it benefits everybody. So wouldn't that be a much better choice? Even think by reason and rationality, isn't it? Yeah. Let's say if your own needs are never taken care of by working for others, right, then somebody make a case like, okay, you will be behind, right? That doesn't work, But dedicating for others, your own needs are taken care of. By the way, no big deal. When you become Buddha, you become Buddha. You are not left behind. And so that's why bodhisattvas are so appreciative and take joy in what they do. It's like double benefits, as Geshe said. Paying is up, double. Okay, it's this, no.
行动也搞什么有些呢？什么样的话，这些可啥？一个介绍送把大罗萨，让到的现在在年哇，这些làm gì sẽ những sự bị những sự gì bị xuyên đấy, đó là gì này? Sim chuyện sự thì nhớ sự vật này vật gì, dùng cái mấy sự gì cho, những sự nơi sự mình, sự sự dùng để trong cái thực qua mình chụp về, nam đó giờ nó luôn đi nơi sự gì, lo là để mà nhớ này mà thứ quân được 生熟前面养被跑的决心没，提拔起来了是那么多大片吧，让你的话你讲跑的决没些也松是我第六的，上去是我第六的，然后他把头你老介绍的，因为呀，他们这些不可我头就跑的决这个这些。行动不要你说呢？你他们是一盘子肉嘛这些，这个他们前面跟我同样这个说是他们应该投这个现在有的这个听说有路走的这是我的，所以就他们同样生活当中呢，这个生意我们的人都当下在那边考中，现在现在有人我现在在人家健康不行，那东岸工作的没有些，现在在他们老远被。受着的么不差着是这个话，现在建议的行动的身边同学话的呀，就差一步就这种的些话干，知不道就是刚刚，我的身边同学làm sao来呀，说是操电话着的làm sao来呀的有么着的，身体电话那边是这个电话是吧？第三个，我说你这个刚刚的这个可是。Rigbe kono job ya rime yi ya moba sia so de marwa kan so sama ya botana enta da kono de kono re ya sa ji bu ni wa ji jo ro ti jo.
So again, they quoted Sutra Alankara or Ornamental Mahayana Sutra. And again, as Geshe said, here we are using valid reasoning. Through reasoning, we can understand and appreciate why bodhisattvas choose to benefit others instead of pursuing just their personal nirvana. Okay, so we don't have to take that distinction by some kind of blind faith or faith alone, because this can withstand the test of analysis and reasoning, so to speak. Yeah? And Geshe was kind of emphasizing on that. He's repeating that reasoning like a mantra, into my ears. So that's so as Geshe explained, that bodhisattvas, they are very aware that if they pursue just their personal nirvana, that is a big obstacle for them to achieve enlightenment for the sake of others. They do not see that as a good thing. That's the real obstacle on your way to becoming a Buddha, enlightened being. On the other hand, if you cultivate altruism, bodhicitta, great compassion, and dedicate yourself to promote others' well-being, you are on the way to enlightenment. Altruism is not an obstacle, right, on the way to enlightenment. It is an essential facility. And so bodhisattvas know that. So they understand that if you get sidetracked and somehow pursue your personal nirvana, let's say you achieve it, there's so much solitary peace that you get locked into this state for eons. Yeah. And so many eons, you lose the opportunity to be able to benefit others. And on the other hand, so that can be very detrimental to cultivating great compassion. If you get locked into the solitary peace of nirvana for eons, it's very difficult to cultivate compassion for others, great compassion, isn't it? Because you're so used to that solitary peace. You're so used to not having any headaches, you know what I mean? No manifest suffering, whatever. What? For eons. So being in that state for so long, so it's very challenging to feel the pain of others and develop compassion for others. So Bodhisattva said, I don't want to go there. That's such an obstacle. And that's why, although it's very difficult to be on the way to enlightenment, but because of their state of mind and attitude, mentally, they have no problem. Okay, physically, maybe they face some problem, challenges here and there.
Oh, 네가 저 라마 공부 순수 들여도 제가 배 상하죠 교재 자동송 여와 남의 시민이나 그 여와 남의 대장사리 아시요 내가 너무 발자센 디젠랑의 쇼자 쇼리스 다 그게 니랑 그 시대랑도 쇼이나 그 내가 남의 녀 대장 디젠 쇼 그서 예스들 뭐다도 시대 대결 뭐도 이제 그저 저거 말이지. 我现在听这个推这儿现在的， 가르치는 편용들이 적어다.
No. As our lineage gurus have this to say, and they do say this to us at times. Let's say, I mean, you have taken Abhishek or Tantric empowerment. So you have a Tantric commitments, right? Which means you have to keep your root vows very intact. And if we break any of the root vows, well, we will get into the most suffering hell state, right? As a result. Even then, right, however long we are in that particular hell, once we get out, let's say we are reborn with a good rebirth, you know, we have a chance to meet with the Mahayana teaching and again Tantra in particular, and through that we correct ourselves and we could achieve enlightenment. While all these things can happen, if we have taken the detour to the solitary peace, we could still be in the solitary peace. But all these things happen, you mean? So in terms of time-wise also, so getting into the solitary peace of nirvana is very detrimental, right? It takes so much time, we get absorbed, right with me? On the other hand, you enter Mahayana, you take initiation, for some reason you broke your root vows and you went into the most torturous hell, you paid your karma, then you get out of that, then you meet the Mahayana teaching and Tantric practice, now you really correct yourself and so you go all the way to enlightenment. Still, it is possible that somebody is still stuck in the solitary peace of nirvana. So that's why Bodhisattva said like, thank you, I don't want to go there, okay?
어디에 저 가르사学되어시 어디서 어제도 가르사 데 가르데 배도시는 어디에 됐었다. 여와 남에는 뭐 사와디 레 애니 니도도 소소 타와자부터 로게는 어디를 성지야 익샤요리스 어디가 익샤도 세티야 되서 지보디 미와나사 양녀는 되게 남이뇨 야용 여 특징을 쇼에는 소상 지로 제대로 대가라 디그리스 세다 시대 내에서도 그 그게 타바다 배조시야 촉셔부 차고만 그래서 그 동해에 가가 믿어 가 영어로 이제 가가 그 잠을 그 믿는 거는 그 가가 되어라 그 탑지시고 말아 지고이나 저 탑지시야 그래서 가가 사서도 신의 탑지시고 탑지 기와시 레레도 조사에 그 탑지시고서 대셔서 그 대지와라.
So as Krishna said, so if we want to pursue enlightenment for the sake of all others, that's what bodhisattvas are very passionate about. They understand it very well that, taking the path to personal nirvana and even achieving that, you could be locked into the solitary peace for eons and eons, and you couldn't benefit others. How could you benefit others, right? You are in this incredible state of peace. You have no problem whatsoever. Your life is good, so to speak. So when our life is good, do we ever really think like, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, right? We don't, right? When we face challenges, we say, okay, what's the best way to do that? Well, then we struggle with that, isn't it? Because when our life goes well, why would we worry about anything? It's going well. So being in solitary peace of nirvana is that. There is not even slightest suffering, no manifest suffering. And so that is a big obstacle, as we said, to be able to develop Mahakaruna, great compassion for others. Such a negative impact on that. So bodhisattvas are fully aware. They said, thank you very much. I'm not going that way. And but if bodhisattvas, I take challenge to develop bodhicitta, benefit others, I take vows, then maybe as best I could, I break vows, then I go into the most torturous hell. But you're not going to be in the most torturous forever, You will get out someday, isn't it? But when that someday comes, now your other karmic ripens, you meet with the Mahayana path and guru, you meet the tantric practice, you speed up. And then still, somebody is still in the nirvana, absorbed into the solitary peace, sleep there. Geshe didn't sleep, I used it. So taking a nap there kind of thing. So that's why it is a huge difference, isn't it? So for bodhisattvas, taking commitments, doing your best, and even if you transgress, go to hell, that's not an obstacle to enlightenment, because, isn't it? But if you go to the nirvana and get locked into solitary peace, then for eons and eons, you are locked in there. And that is a big obstacle to achieve enlightenment.
This is the Hajiti. Ranjigo Tabato do Loti, and Sanjitoya Paduji race.
No.
What this is the order in the illusion Terada. It's got Tabata, some of them, and Tabatos, and he did the order of Iglesias, and the Kiva Konatara, there, Yamazi, Lama Lovia, the dig of some of that mercy, Desha, whatever. So this is Sanjay Jutamazan, and Kokazi Desha, and Sanjay Marwa.
No.
But said, Lenya Sana, ya, dentro do céu, não vou pagar do céu, tipo assim, o nome lá, não é só do céu, só que era do céu, eu te disse, se eu te, ya, ribelam changshao remoto, ya, me va si usar, dire marva, samo da yoro, but this is.
So again, Geshe is pounding on this, how through rationality or valid reasoning, we can understand Bodhisattva's, choice making here, right? Why wouldn't they pursue personal nirvana? Why would they, go through sort of this harder route or the path, that involves a lot of challenges, but they are willing to do that for the benefit of others. And as again said, that even if we achieve nirvana and solitary peace, you really get absorbed in that peace for eons and eons and eons and eons. I don't know how many times I have to repeat that. Okay. So while you are locked for eons and eons and eons and eons and that, you have no motivation to accumulate merit. You have no motivation to help. Why would you be? You are just in the state of complete, some kind of bliss there. Okay. So that's an obstacle, right? Without accumulating merit and wisdom, you never become Buddha. Now you are locked into solitary peace, and you don't see the need to do that. You have no motivation, you don't do any action. So that is really, a Bodhisattva said, not good. Are you with me? Instead, I'll take this difficult path and I will do my best. Then maybe I break my vows, then I get into the hell. Well, too bad for me, but then I'll suffer there, but I'll get out, right, someday. Then my other good imprints will get activated. I meet qualified gurus, the Mahayana teaching, the tantric path, and then I'll speed up. Are you with me? So actually, I have a much better chance to be enlightened faster than getting locked for eons and eons and eons and eons and eons and eons in the solitary peace. Yeah.
Well, this is the Karsa teacher the Teda Rangdo the Tabala Yang Redu Mi Shedo Baki Labatigawe. You did that when they see you don't see young. Yet, you do, you know, the Kawajedo Yambata. Teach him with Yang so Yambes. Lose him down. Lose him down. Yet, he told you was a miserable who Yamba did Zibaya. Mela. Taji di Shedon Bashi Jubala, Mobile Gari, Chuba in Siena, Pemba Cheve, Lady, Nami, Joa Chimarana, Mondo Tabu, June, Joata Medo, so you say, this word, Kenoshi, the Ken Penajo, social and 중요한 게 디나미 로요 뭐 어디 세서 그다 가르사 디스고 간도 지다 나도 어머니 와서 요르바 그 지마땅게 나베나 지다 소 나미 로하시게 되나 단다 지마땅베나 지마땅베 내가 소 쓰면 되와게 요 말이스 저지 쓰면 되다 그 로하면서 그 지마땅야 그런 Tito the call pay out to the Koro Tambo Master, Nami Jima Tama Lansa Delia, long year to Titiro Civiles and Lansa Kawache Shebochegors. Karsa Jimbe Rimbo the Gawa top says me, Shansi Jibadan, and Suzu Jibi Chever Hiva Kaje. Suzu Jibatina. And Nami Roya in the Lansa Jibatan to send a Magana with the Gaja Yomara. So you see what the Cortera, longer jump to Sidachi to the Gizzy digital to the Shoshi, the Oshim, turns it attached with you, Slarova, what is the one?
No. So what, based on what we said so far, should one thing that now bodhisattvas must be thinking very highly of themselves as if I'm somebody, we are, because no, they don't have any such conceit, right? Read the next stanza 109. Therefore, although working for the benefit of others, I should not be conceited or consider myself wonderful. And because of the joy there is in it, solely doing this, I should have no hope for any ripening effect, unquote. Well, that's the relevant verse Geshe read and try to explain now. As Geshe said, that bodhisattvas really, they do everything for others unconditionally. That's why they do not have a slightest hope in their mind that by doing this, what am I going to get or what I should get? They don't think that way. So they are not thinking about the ripening effects of all the great things they are doing for other sentient beings. They simply wish others to be happy, and in what way I can help them to get rid of suffering. That's the only mindset they have, but they're not saying that by doing this, what do I also get, by the way, right? They don't think that way, very unconditional. Because of that, the kind of satisfaction, joy bodhisattvas get is just incredible, So as Geshe was explaining, he quoted the whole stanza from his memory from Madhyamik Avatar, right? Supplement to the Middle Way by great Chandrakirti. So where there is this contrast being made between, ordinary generosity and bodhisattva's generosity, isn't it? Ordinary generosity, it doesn't seem to bring that much joy. Why? Even at the time of giving, right, we have expectation somewhere. And it's good that we are not giving out of miserliness or something. That's another thing, right? Even as okay, there is some kind of a hidden agenda, so to speak, calculation going on. So that's why even while giving, you don't get the kind of joy, right, that could be greater. Whereas bodhisattvas, when they give, they just give. They even dedicate the results of the giving for the others. They don't want anything, sort of expecting anything in return. That's why even at the time of giving, bodhisattvas have so much joy. And Geshe cited the whole lines from his memory where he said, if somebody knocks on their door, say, hello, can you give me something? That's like a magic word. That just like brings them so much bliss and happiness, and because they do not want to lose any opportunity to benefit others, and they do it all unconditionally,
Longson Tane, yes, you don't share it. Was I made a show young Zeba, young Bela, touching the shadow by you draw one guy, Shuba Yin. Here, Pepper Chevy, Lady Nami, Jawashima, Rana, Mondo double joint, Ravada made us, but take that. This is the Chino Jashama Shield that. Karsa, Shibu Shijasane. So Yantel Najid of Genasi, that the Sanjo Najiamara Karsa. Simjo Toshi, 시다 빼면 심히 잡아시에서 심지어 이 동다시도 저 심지어 동시에서 심지어가 종시다시 남선으로
No.
세대녀도 시대에서 심지어 동시디잖아 소설에 좀 먹고 이제 사사식을 먹고 이제요 심지어 십사정도 뒤 종을 거야 인가 예레스
No, so.
시다 빼면 심히 잡아시라로
No, so.
다들 닌단다고 같아 보면 다 제스디잖아 근데 좀 먹고는 양에 심지어 동시에서 나제스 시켜 말했어
No, so.
그래서 너도 니마도 나가 전에 배 심지어다 유능가가를 쓰기라서 봐 펜디 싸워 싶으니 가가 중고 어디시나 엘베 그너 니마도 그 워시네 배 쓰기 나서 펜도 잡을래 나와도 지구여서 펜도 시여서 뒤로 또 봐줘요 말이지
No, so.
제가 또 봐줘야 뭐 대화는 이제 펜도 가서 시에는 시여서 논슨 시죠 말이지
No, so.
나 니마 나가 저나 요한테 선물 거버렸죠. 설교는 여말에
No,
어찌
so.
쓰고.
No, so. So Geshe said, Bodhisattvas are solely, right, touching solely dedicated for the well-being of others unconditionally. They have no expectation of anything in return. That is the Bodhisattva's mindset. Okay, that's why they have so much joy and happiness, everything coming out of their altruism and action. So as Geshe explained, that Bodhisattvas are doing so much, right, without need being asked even, but they do not have any sense of arrogance or feeling conceited. Wow, it's just like, I have done so much favor, what's that all about? They don't have that thing. They don't feel like I'm favoring others because I did so much and I continue to do, right? They don't have that arrogance, because that arrogance it contaminates, actions and things like that. As Geshe quoted again, a lot of lines from his memory from some of the Bhadra prayers, it seems. And so explained that, Bodhisattvas know that by working with other ordinary sentient beings, it's not easy. You want to benefit them as much as you can, but you also need to protect yourself, from the negativities of the sentient beings, right? Otherwise, it may not work out. It's just like the lotus grows out of the mud. Sentient beings are like a mud, right? But the lotus doesn't get stained by the mud. Bodhisattvas would like to come out that way. They do not want to be like influenced by the negativities of the sentient beings for whom they are working and they're hanging out together. Okay, that's one step. The other step is that they are doing so much for sentient beings. They do not want to be arrogant and feel like, okay, I have been doing so much and favored for them, and expecting something in return. So this is how they protect their mindset and the actions. As an example for this is sun and moon, right? Sun and moon are essential for our existence, isn't it? They illuminate the whole world day and night, and they mature all the things that exist, like forests and everything. But sun and moon never had this thought that we have been doing so much for you people, right? They don't think that way. They just do it. They dispel the darkness, or the radiance, and all of this are essential for maturation of our life, and the forest and the vegetations, everything, right? There's so much benefit, but the sun and moon never think like, okay, we have done enough for you, we are somebody now. They don't. So Bodhisattvas exactly like that. Okay? They just do it to help others. They even don't expect that by the power of all the things I do, may I have a good rebirth in my next life. They don't think that way, right? There's no such expectation or strings attached to that.
Sumba Dondia and the Devi na Tivi, Shidera Sodi, Dashi Dungi Mudevala, Mudeba, Keva Meva, Dashi Yamba Gombe, Gonjibe, Juden Tivi, na Shidarte, Pena, Dungi Jushungum, Tana, na Tsik Mineba, Jungsi Zang, Shuale, 你讲当你送啊写吧，送啊提前的，现在没那样，那边东西先把大起熊样没用啊，送啊下了，我是送那边没讲，面对呗，日他们这拉噻。送到也sem当，他的东西也那些嘛那样，他那个程度也认识什呢？他的千万没有课本，手写那么我的他上学那的看都不给，行动就要过的，可是这老了要我打么子呢？那么把语直接写，他可能要空过的是。现在谈到说空呢，你看这要空把的军事的上了，可是别说嘛，我刚个家用过了，我是他年轻的我是主要是把做到有时候的上的用过的是，现在谈到说是空的我们都上你要把这想叫么的，这里啊别种小伙的是我的是个事。
Stanza 110 reads, Therefore, just as I protect myself from unpleasant things, however small, in the same way, I should act towards others with a compassionate and caring mind, unquote. So that's the stanza Geshe is explaining. And so bodhisattvas, of course, they care about others altruistically. They do everything they can, but even at times they couldn't do anything by action, but still they always extend that compassion to others. They still never give up the thought that may others be free from suffering, isn't it? Of course, they want to help, not just thinking compassion, right? Compassion in action. Whenever they could, whatever they could, they, put that compassion in action. But at times, there's nothing much they could do or they couldn't do anything. Even then, they preserve their compassion because they understand that through maintaining that compassionate mind, right, through habituation, gomba, that it enhances your abilities to do things later on, isn't it? So this is the benefit. And so this is why Bodhisattvas know that when I think about myself, forget about any big suffering. Even if somebody says a little nasty thing, I don't like it. I'm sure it's the same all other sentient beings. So therefore, we would like to protect others from even the smallest suffering. What that means that, of course, definitely from the big suffering, if you could. So even if at times I couldn't do anything in real action, but I'm still going to, maintain my compassion and extend my compassion to others. This is how the Bodhisattvas, keep doing, because as I said, by reasoning, through habituation and mind training and all of this involvement, right, the development happens, isn't it? That's in the law of nature, right? Right now we have a lot of conceptual thoughts, and through our practice and continuation, they can become non-conceptual thoughts by the law of nature practice. So bodhisattvas are very much aware of that.
Oh, da ni ba da ye yo go ma ni da de ke da ye nya ba go ma da ye yo go ni sa ni da ye nya ba do sa ro da ye yo di go de sa ji ni go ma ni ju de je go ne do de ba ti gu ji je ba she ba ni ta mo ne ko ba ni so de la je ne be ju de ne da ye yo la xin yu lu la ra gu lu la ba lu nya ba da rang ge lu la xian jie lu so nya be lo jiao gu de te de jie ga la te xian de xian la yang rang de jie ban jin xing rang la xian da yo do be lo jie ba yi na te zhe lo ne na ya me jie ye da xie jiao da jie da xie nya be lo zo ya jie gao nyam na Mahomna tada ke kawa ime wonya yurung du koma chewa ye ne rang le shin pa the mata gi koa the cha ge tikwa le je sing mi ba de la da ge pai ngobo nye de choba me ba churjo ne je ngar pa ngar hardo ne so won't be shibe unity dog lose or young Jews and zimbe the lo nyawa kombe to le si rang ngange dog he dog lose or he sing zimba ta take you the simple lula da he lu jeji ji se mi de suji da te da zimbe lo ye komba shena rang lu de lo jawa ni Niji Muniba Medo, Didder, a second to good D, Jewat Patient to Dakin, Nabal Yajar, Jan Shela, Bibutaso, Lama Patient, Dakin Joa, Jarnes, Shed Dayan, Tedasha house, Muba Mewa, Georgiane, Shebe, second day, Jurkaji Mewa and Sumso, did not Dakin. Da rang liu di ye la ni jin jin dang, jin di to na rang lo xian yi liu ta bi xia ba xie niang, rang liu me be xian yi ku da da bu la yang, ko nu da bu liu so ja be lo jia wa te rang liu la yang xian yi liu so nyam di, ko nu xian yi lo jia wa la, ka wa mi nu ba xie me be si, jia wa niu so si, wo te da xie ji be jie se zang jie de wa be. Since the wrong lula, change lula wrong lisa, wrong lula change lisa, Trilla Jig Maras.
No,
Or Trillana,
no.
or did Hubs in the Jig Maras, Kona get to this. Tata Sulu Lune, Pemakuta, Shunja, the radiation, Sulu Gelus, and be Sasha, which was the two, though, did Jigwaris. Hingi Luther, Sasha Bokona, Sasha Bujitori, the Hin that is Sulu Lula, Pamakoda, Sulu Luther, Sasha Buziana, Hingi Lula, in Sasha Bujitori, in the Kona Jeshuris. Him with that, so the Luther Pamakoda, Shunga de Mother, Tomogoni, Shunde was big, so Toma, Yamdo, you want to take Kai Maris. So they meant Sulu Luther, Gay do a lot, Gay. But then I change Lula, change wrong Lula, Yayo Maris, so this.
So now we are going to move into, discussing exchanging self for others, right? We have talked about equalizing self with others. And the second part of that is exchanging self for others, Tapsen Cheba in Tibetan. And so there are two stanzas which go together. Let me read them and then translate the partial explanation Geshe has given. So at the bottom of page 121, stanza 111 reads, although the basis is quite impersonal, through constant familiarity, I have come to regard the drops of sperm and blood of others as I. So in the same way, why should I be unable to regard the bodies of others as I? Hence, it is not difficult to see that my body is also that of others, unquote. So as Geshe explained, should someone say that, how is it possible to exchange self for others, right? How can I ever be able to think that others' body is, right, so to speak, my body, and my body is that of others or something, right? How is that? Yes, ordinarily speaking, that seems to be difficult. That's not our usual way of thinking, isn't it? But through cultivating thought and habituation, it is possible. As difficult as it sounds to exchange self for others, through cultivating that kind of exchanging self with others' thought, and through habituation, actually we could do that. So that's the explanation. Of course, this whole practice is first presented briefly and then extensively explained under two main outlines. So as Geshe said, that we all cherish our own body so much, isn't it? It's my body, you know. But if you take a moment to think about that, this body has not been in existence since beginningless time. It just kind of dropped like that out of osmosis, and then I claim that's my body. This body is the result of the mixture of sperm and blood or eggs of our parents, isn't it? And those sperm and blood belong to the parents. That's not mine. That belongs to somebody else, isn't it? So those substances which belong to somebody else created this body, and there's nothing in this body that intrinsically says, I'm yours, right? There's nothing in this body, right? But yet, through our habit and cultivation, now we are so used to thinking that all of this body comes from other substances. Now I claim it's my body, and I feel very comfortable, right? It just seems like very natural. This is my body. But in reality, there's nothing in this body. It is I. Are you with me so far? In the same way, if we can cultivate the same thought with regard to others' body, it's possible for us to think as if others' body are my body. And as much as we cherish our body now, we can cherish others' body as well. That seems very difficult at the moment, but through cultivation and habituation, it is possible. Okay? That's called exchanging self with others or self for others. Right? So here the commentator clarifies that stanza 111, where we talk about how constant familiarity, through that we come to regard this body that is a result of the sperm and blood of others, our parents, as I. So this passage, sometimes explained, used to explain equalizing self with others. Okay, but many other teachers have also used this to explain exchanging self for others. So here the commentator says, I'll follow them. Many of them use this stanza to explain exchanging self for others, and that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, dear, so that is the tena da rang lu ding la jin ji to ne rang lo xin ye ka sa rang lu xin yi lu nga da lu ta du sha ba she na rang lu me be xin yi ko da da bu la ya ko ne da lu su nyam be lo je wa de rang lu la xin yi lu so nyam du ko ba ko ne xin yi lo ji ka sa je la高minimum maybe是 minimum maybe 是要你说就是说这个你讲这些等那这些等那讲不了家了那也了等这把脾气的要了马儿被你切了送说。这样是个的，这些养大没，刚刚学的空吧嘞，我们到你做吧呢，也是没到多少， Lodece, Hizo Soba Taros, Dahin Jeju, Tedar, Kuma Jenba Tish, Shinga da Yodeji de Tene, Shasum Jeba Sumata, Shi Jongji Sumat, Dansen Ya Do, Nimbur Jiwa Gombe, Kabdin, Darani Jona, Jeva Nid Shiva Shashin, She da, she so Dani, Jivan Zimba, Nieba Tabji, Shi, Betan Zimba, Jonda Jiva, Nid Shiva Shashawatam, Shendala, Yonde, Yazot Shibam, Shenda, Jivan Zimba, Dani, Lizo Tabji, Shi Base, She Betan Zimba, Yonde, Yazot Zimba, Shiva Shene, Da Jivan Zimbe, Lo Yonso Torni, Teda Minziba, Koba Shiva, Shenda Long, Sunga Shide, Tele Jivan Zimbe, Lo Libar Magube Party, Goma Shawos, or that da Kaji, da Shing still ra, which Ron Zashu, Shen Lo get to Marzi, they get over this, get a Tada Sulu Ludi. So Tomoman, young to Mary Pamela should have ready. She didn't hear lose just with the water. She you they get over this, come and get over this. Said that they get with the Bayomari, said the Rogi did any joint be Zai, but she did the Liberty Zai, but what did you do some of them and Gunguris? What is that is some of them? She does, but yes, I was so the job of the Soya being at the end, qualify. Kaduina Jomata Yunga Marva, Shen La Pendo of Jasper Shin, Kokarishina, the Kadu and the Kolyajin of Chai or they done on the Mosum to Tungo. Said the Ya Rosivan Jonda, Shins in the Yondeta, the occasion with it done in Joa, some tongue in some tongue took race. Because the Tadasu, the Pamakoda, Shunga, the Shinang, Lucian, Zito, the audit, Chibaris.
Stanza 113 reads, having seen the mistakes or the faults in cherishing myself and the ocean of good in cherishing others, I shall completely reject all selfishness and accustom myself into accepting others, unquote. So as Geshe explained, that, at the moment, it seems that how can I ever think of others' body, it is as in my body, yeah? That doesn't seem possible at all. But the answer to that question, the possibility is through cultivating thought and habituation, it is very possible. So if we take a moment to look at our own body, which we call I or my body, so this body is not something we came along with our own right together, but this body is the outcome of our parents' sperm and blood. And so nothing in this body has some kind of intrinsicness or attribute that says, call me I or yours. There's nothing here. But yet we have thought that way. This is my body, and it's as if it belongs to me. And so now we feel very comfortable, right? To call it I or my body. So now if you cultivate the same kind of thinking and have the same habituation, then we will be able to cherish others' bodies as if their bodies are, my body. But that requires a lot of mind training, isn't it? It is not going to come easily. So what included in that is, as Geshe explained, we need to seriously consider all the problems associated with the self-cherishing attitude, rangchensin, selfishness, self-centeredness, that. And we have to think about all the benefits and the goodness in cherishing others. So as we appreciate cherishing others and we see the problems with self-judging attitude. So through this mind training, then we are able to exchange self with others. So that's very, possible. I mean, it's a thing in general, as Geshe said, we may know someone, or we ourselves could be that person who can't think about anybody else benefit and good for others. It's just about me, 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 that kind of self-centeredness is quite, how should I say, it kicks a lot of problems, isn't it? I mean, who wants to hang out with that person? Me, 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 right? It's all about me. But where somebody else, yes, think that, but also write things for others, right? More or less same way. So people like that, right? This who can, think for others as well. You are not just egocentric, you are altrocentric here. So in the same way, so through mind training, we can develop that kind of altruism and cherishing others.
有的些人这个地方是，他些这样些的，看的是呢，可能老的知道就这样的，那么就让些吧子，先要多，他让要多，先些吧子，我的钱没，先个这样嘛是，现在的这头的是我说，的那些这是我多点吧伊拉，那些这些同的。让这个的先要的老人扩散接的，我让这的到老人那么就让这个这个大让要的先这个的第一扩散接第二的是，第二这个送的让给的话现在就是都跟现在是话的领导呢，现在让这个那这的让给的话这个的，都跟是话现在希望过吧的，这现在俺先要的第的话。是这玩意儿没事吧？东岸写的是吧？没事吧？这了多的，现在了现在东岸写的是吧？的多写的主要，我的老一个这个大藏州的这个考试家的没有，现在开家有么的是？我这是我的，多那让给的话了，没到现在东岸是通的就把人把送说是，他头大看这是那个哪来着？看着大人呢。现在偏头啊，就不多就，所有头的什么么多些呢？那个可是呢，现在偏个什么是当，那个稀松呢？当心就我这就是什么
？So what does exchanging self for others or self with others mean? Takshin Cheva, right? Of course, we cannot literally change our body into each other's bodies, right? That's not the meaning. What it really means is changing our attitudes and doing some perspective taking here, isn't it? And so, I mean, think for a moment. So far, who did we cherish most? Self or others? Self. Are you with me? Yeah. Who did we neglect most? Not the self, it's the others, isn't it? So we have that attitude. We cherish ourselves, we don't cherish others in the same way, and we don't tend to neglect our own well-being, but we tend to neglect others' well-being. Now, instead of doing that mindset perspective, if we flip it, so to speak, change the focus, instead of cherishing the self that we have done so far, now we replace it with others, right? We try to cherish others. Instead of neglecting others' well-being, now put the self there, neglect the self-interest, right? So this kind of mindset changing or perspective taking, one that takes root in us, that's called exchanging self for others, isn't it? In other words, as Geshe said, if you find yourself that whatever you are doing it for the benefit of others, everything, that's your mindset. You don't think much about yourself. Well, then the exchanging self and others is taking place there, isn't it? You just think about everything you do to benefit others. And so now that exchanging self with others is kind of taking place, right, in your mind. So we will stop there today because that completed the brief explanation of exchanging self for others. So we will deal with the extensive one, next week onwards. So we welcome your questions, and we go first to online, and or come back, whichever way it works.
Oh, in reference, I'm just speaking softly. In reference to the Shravaka practitioners that have attained nirvana and are now in full absorption, when the Buddhas come to wake them up, I assume they have to take birth somewhere. Do they actually have the ability to choose their next birth like some bodhisattvas can? And if they did, or if they don't, whichever way, where would they take birth? I mean, we say that the human realm is the most conducive for practicing. Do they come here? Do they get born in a Buddha land? So let's start here.
Sure. Morangi kandi shwede this working. Kaso ore ta nyenjo ke lamla june ane tharbe shidi top denga jorwage. Tharbe shiwala nyombar shu degandi ane sanje ke langir chalorwage shweingne. Sanje langir larwage. Seza shwein lang se di sanje ke lang ndu kala ane kyawar shilen gugu jires mara samje shinarwage. Shwein lang baina. Kyawa shilen gugu jires rwage. Kyawa lang yewe ina ta kyawa de kawa lang jires pan chanju samba ina so kyasa dinde ane chiksa near of the dam to go or wasrwage. Ta Koranzo ke near dam to go rest and yongda cheba ina and a milu lamba ina that should be kebashi was in a milu ma ke yungo that the country goes as she in a ying long the roage. The Izimish Kawalang again, that country order.
The lungs don't die. Picture of the tattoo to Toyo, Tato love with the San Jim, Tanda Rondon Doma, Shindon Doma, Tanda Lucian Shower, or too long or that too long on this. And she could do me one job to me. Any Tanda low out to the Some you do Shabu jet to Marisio. Could do me one job, you know, and it is theater, so you shy, said, no, sir. That was. Koya dunga tasa za dunga merwa dunga mera shela de lomdu shuksho ji maris sheda tip ma ye na ni be ke bo mabon goya san je ale mabon gor sini shigri su
ini me ji kewa len goya ke ke yo marwa ke
kewa len go da ko de sta samji kewa len a ji me ji le nyo kewa len yo marwa
le ke de shibe ni ya lang de ga lang da ji son de wa ke khande sanje gi ka lo gor da ma zo ina ni sebe so ya lang sung go re da ya ka ji go ro wa ke shibe ni lang ne ani nam san ning ji ke to ke me za mi sanje ge de ro go sna go da go ro wa ke ta chora ni ji me de ne chore che la es ke yo ma ji ro go sna go ro ke
de ro ba da na go da ro go sna shung de ko no su ja ra sanje da shi ta za ta du to yo ma ri ta lo go de se de mo ji ta de lo ya ta ji de ni ye shi bu ja de ga ma ko no gu ya ri mi sanje shi ya yo ma
당가서 던지게 시베잉을 주스데 강갈로 답에 민 나바 chen 시베잉을 주다 바자 텐도 미달 하 나바를 가르게
오다 답에 된저 나거든 이제 자주 무슨 미나 라이나 지기라.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that we get as clear answers as possible. So I have to look at all the sides. And so in the case of where we say that Buddha wakes them up, those who have been absorbed into solitary peace of nirvana. And so it's not necessary that they have to take a rebirth. Usually those who are absorbed here, those who have attained nirvana, are those who have the fortunate forms, right? Either they could be human or maybe some divine beings, right? So Buddha uses their power to tell them, look, wake up, because what you have achieved is a partial attainment. You have not achieved everything that's to be realized, you know, and so you still need to work further, right? There's enlightenment. What you achieved is not complete enlightenment. You still have to work, yeah. And of course, so Buddha helps them to get out, and Buddha will help whatever way they can, but still, because they got absorbed into the solitary peace for eons, it's rather difficult for them to be able to develop compassion for others, right? Because they themselves have no pain, misery at all, right? They're free from that. So to be able to develop compassion, you have to have some be able to relate to the pain, right? So it takes a lot of time. I said, isn't there a way Buddha can somehow speed it up? He said, no, Buddha can do whatever they can, but the effort has to come from your side. He said, Buddha cannot, right? You use, however difficult it is, they have to make the effort to be able to cultivate great compassion, And so then they're on the way to enlightenment. Yeah. So it takes a lot of time and effort for them to be able to now follow the Mahayana path,
Great, because that takes me to the segue of the next question I had, which was they finished the obscuration to nirvana.
Yeah.
So the emotional stuff is done, which they don't experience pain and misery and all that stuff, but they still have obscurations to omniscience. And for them, I would assume first when they're in meditation, nothing appears for them. And then when they come out of this meditation, because Buddha woke them up, then the appearance of true existence is gonna come up for them. And then to be able to work to remove that, they would have to dig into the imprints of that, which then can we talk to Geshe about that? See what he's...
Sure. Tanda dida jawa ibe Quran kanti mutu shishoko jesa roage. Da shiben yin lang ba yin roage. Da diga da tachum be kubang tho za da nyundib chazang bang sa roage roage. Da lang ba shidib de la yi zang da paksa so samdang roage. Sidhu kang ya da shidib sidhu kang ya da Quran shiben yin lam de kala ke nyota ke me jor sa de roage. Da ya shiben yin le shang sa de kang ya che tam je de Quran zo le temba do na de go res roage. Da shidib ki kwang ki roage. Da ni na nang go res da tindu ki roage. Nang go be na da ni na de me ba so go roage da tindu ki na ma de roage. Sidhu kang da ni na de do nyota sa ba shi da ka re so de so se sem ding le ma zu ne pa sa na roage. Pa sa de mo to jam ne roage. O de ne che ne ni na de me ba so go roage da so na so roage. Shidib me ba so da de.
da shine ko ai simje ta je phai ma je thide so gom ji shine lam do sa wa leng go ro ba te leng go da dungye de simje dungye gom ya la so so dungye won jo wa me za ane pge shen pa de dungye gom ju za shuk she bo leng yo ma ro go
No.
se di za se de kham ya di lam jia shuo zhe nga se dungye won jo yo da go dungye won jo de su ge se ne mi de ha go ye za ane del thea ge sta shuk she bo cha to ri kham khong de wa le de shuk she bo sha ma ri thong zo ji ma se ya jo ro
No.
wo di de ro
No. Ta di sidhu kal gen di dan mara lab de ta da de ro gen shidib ki de chen ko temba do na de di red go ro.
shi de
Wang da kon da
ye ba do da de no de yo ma ge de 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 yo ma pa sa ro
na de shago res ta di me ba so ya la ta dan de shine ya cha bo chen ba lam shin gom de go ro ge.
da shin chi se bo gong go da
So what Geshe is saying is right that because they have completely abandoned the what we call delusions, afflictive emotions, nyundib in Tibetan, that's why they attain the nirvana. But they still have completed all realization. They still have the obscuration to omniscience. We call shidib, sometimes just imprints of the delusions. We easily say that. And so they need to work with that. Because of that, although they do not have grasping at true existence, but they do have the appearance of true existence, that dualist state. So that means they really have to start with the Mahayana path from the ground zero. And it's very difficult for them to develop compassion because to feel compassion, we have to be able to relate to some suffering, but they have no suffering, right? Completely. And so that's why we said, once you are in that solitary peace for eons, it's really difficult to cultivate a path, a Mahayana path, and have great compassion, and then be able to understand and empathize other suffering, So it takes a lot of efforts, training. But possible, it's not impossible, but yeah.
Well, could you give us an example of an obscuration to omniscience?
Sure.
What is that?
Quran ki ken shidib ki ken chenshi shawra na sa pe da wichiro wa gen. Shidib ki pe chenshi.
shi de ce da ka ri sha de se da de de se da na mi shi pe su gu tang tang shi shi na ne 15这么写上呢，
No,
那也过那咋不让长啥说呢？
no,
过苏国干部是脚不是这的，这上山的嘛是，
no, re,
是吧？
no, re.
我听到一个我的年纪越过来下一个的中这个旁站那么练的，那过年去他就无所多么多，主要是中么不差的是吧？
No,
我
re.
听着这个，听这呀，多么这差这个一些这些个事。
No, so didn't cut the door.
嗯
Again, deep page didn't send the Gamba Chow, Gamba Serving the Rogue. Tangema Tangda Yuman, she Yomar, what I said. Yama Tango Gamba Tangda Yuban, shaking you by the mess on Rogue. Gamba Yaku just serving that she lives this or chat slam the Rogue.
那
Gamba Tangda Yung is Rogue, Gamba Chab Rogue. That Gamba Chan, the Sami Treasure Yabu is the Gamba Tangda Server.
我这
Server read Yama Tangda Yuban, Negam, she Yomar.
我这些这是那这个，但是我这说是我这的。
Okay, so we're just trying to get example clarified here. So Geshe said, it's just like, when you are a healthy person, right? You have your feet, everything working well. For some reason, you break your leg or something. But then now through treatment, your leg is healed. But still, it's not the same as you have never broken your feet in the first place, right? It doesn't have the same strength, right? Even though your feet is fixed, still it's has some deficiency as compared to original like healthy leg. Does that make sense? Yes. So the Shantideva is like that you have free from all the delusions, afflicted emotions, but they have still left something on your mind, which is the obstacle we call omniscience, right? That's why it's still you are not able to do certain things. You're not able to see all phenomena non-conceptually because it's still impacting it. Are you with me? So Geshe's example is, let's say, a healthy leg. You're able to run, whatever you can do, right? Now you break your leg and it's fixed. But even though your leg's fixed, looks like very normal, but it is not as, strong as your original leg. There's some kind of deficiency, we would think, usually, right? Are you with me? So like that, although you are free from the delusions, but they have left some impact on your mind. Because of that, you are not able to see all phenomena directly or non-conceptually, like enlightened being. So that part of that mental obscuration is called the obstruction to omniscience. Yeah.
What was the Tibetan word?
Shantideva.
What's that mean?
Cognitive obstruction. Sheba is like cognitive, right? And Jiba means obscuration. Yeah, cognitive obscuration. Sometimes people translate. Yeah.
So, out of compassion, could the Buddhists push those people into a lower realm to experience suffering?
Yes.
And would that be helpful to them to be pushed to a lower rebirth to experience suffering? Could the Buddhists do that to them?
Oh, okay. 关于这是我在那个西北营的相应的做所说的呀，中间开没上了哇个，呢，在人之间的看过了哇，在上节个西北营的浪啥的，在人之间去到了，俺这个的嘛，你要我顶大的我嘛当起了哇个，这个刚才忙不了了哇，你这现人之样叫我接到不车有了什么，你要哪嘛有想呢？
这有要嘛，他类似的关键那个，可是现在关键你把他在那要么了，关定嘛了。
那的。
Yeah,
Yeah, Buddha cannot send them to the hells because they have no karma to be in the hell, right? They are completely liberated themselves from samsara. So Buddha cannot put them in the hell to experience suffering there, right? So that they can easily develop compassion. Buddha can't do that. 저는 먼저 다 인지 진짜 간다 시켜 버렸어. 다 진짜 갖고 있나라 봐. 다 먼저 인지 깨다 버렸어. 가려서.
이게 제가 그 수제 등에 여다 그러. 근데 다 소소 등에 여가 나신 게 되게 인제 제가 성어 당도 신대도现在거기 가 요르서 그러 봐.
다 인제 저 가고 있다.
뭐자 소소 저 냠용些 될 뺀들래现在把报告去了吧.
나로 봐.
다 다른 소 등에 뭐现在深圳人是这样，街道里现在看看有的时候我对对。
但是呢，我这件刚业的，他从来吃到了是吧？没有看到小伙子说吧？他说说不要嘛。
那个东西有让他给我的，有个东西。
但是说说娘给没啥，他说说的了。
有他给我的，现在说说那句东西用的吧，那现在不 She Kapoya so did a Yomara.
that type shit was career again.
Ah,
That deal type shit of career again.
Takido, the Takido Cross Bay, Cross Dugan to Samata, the Gonari, so good because Samatan Tiagi, the Shukas, Yomara. Since I could do Yoda, who also do him.
That shingy to me was a summertime, then when you just keep you winner. So that to me, Yoma, the shingy to all summertime.
Did you get check hard is yours? So do you Ninja Shuksha or
no. Now I got it very clearly. So what we said is that it's not that these arahats, let's say, who cannot develop great compassion, it's very, very difficult for them. The reason for that is they themselves have any suffering, right? To be able to relate personally, isn't it? For us, usually we say that why we could develop compassion faster for others is because reflecting on our own suffering, because we have the same thing, right? Based on your own personal experience, right, you could easily understand others' suffering and develop compassion faster. Now, they can't do that because they have no suffering, right? That's why they find it very difficult. Still, if they keep on thinking about others' suffering, but they do understand others' suffering, they can cognitively understand, right? So if they still keep on thinking about others' suffering and wishing them to be free from suffering, so down the line, they will develop great compassion. But it's a very difficult, difficult path there.
You're calling it, if they have cognitive imprints and they're still in nirvana? I thought nirvana was outside the cognitive imprints.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So you're saying they have cognitive imprints, and I thought there were none of those in nirvana. It was beyond the thinking mind, the conceptual mind.
Rang Chigu Tabato Rawage, Dele Shitib Kiki Marasa, Shitib Uneko Tabato Rawage, Shitib di Deliake, Dawaski Chago Marasa, Rani Chibet on the Tabatovella, Shitib Lake, Dawa the Chudo Yamarasa again.
Really?
That's right. What Tibetans call Shitib, of obscuration to omniscience, or I said cognitive obscuration, literally translating it, it has nothing to do with attaining personal nirvana from samsara. Okay, and so that's why even with that kind of obscuration in the mind, if you remove all the delusions, right, through that, so you could attain nirvana and the solitary peace, which they did.
Can the people who are in nirvana and are unable to feel compassion for others, can they choose themselves without Buddha pushing them to be reborn in a form where they can experience suffering and develop compassion?
Can they themselves experience suffering? Okay. Kurang this word and Shibe English that should the Jorwage. Shibe English Shansaba in a Sanjay Roba Majavich and Kurang Soso Rawage, Shengi Tungela Samratan, Soso Yang Tunga Chorus in Yang English Yorvesa, didn't Yamarwage.
So Sanjay Malan Piji long to Gujimarita, long data so Samatane, see you doing it, doing it, hard to cook.
In that,
she's not doing it, so you told the May, but think see you doing it. So
in the first place, theoretically, without Buddha's help, right, they couldn't come out of that deep absorption into solitary peace of nirvana. So without Buddha's help, they're ever stuck there forever. But then Buddhas don't let them, right, just completely get absorbed, so they wake them up, so to speak. So once they woke up from that state, again, without Buddha's help on their own, they couldn't develop compassion relating to themselves, right? Thinking about other suffering, they cannot feel any suffering themselves because they are completely free of suffering, because that's the state nirvana they attain. So now simply focusing on other suffering, right, continuously, then down the line, right, so they are able to develop great compassion for others. So that's why it's difficult, very difficult for them to develop compassion, but not an impossibility.
I have a question and then one online. So thinking of Geshe-la's example of the broken leg that never quite heals, So Geshe also made a comment that these beings in non-abiding nirvana, they have to start at the beginning of the Mahayana path and how difficult that is. So my question is, just to extend Geshe-la's analogy, starting at the beginning of the Mahayana path, is that like having a new unbroken leg?
The Quran tagi king nganzu di sungba imbagen da go shidib ki king pedala wagen. Kangba tangda yoba jigi kangba chana kangba yago sebe ne wagen. Ngar be kangba tangda yoba rangshin na shi yoma reswa por kyun ru chiyor niba ne wagen. Da di shidib ki peru sha wagen. Shidib kan morang ki kan di shue di da shibe ying ne sa sangye ki ya langsa wagen. Langsa ne teba chembol ya da gorab su yu di kal wagen. Da shin go zu wagen. Isye. 지도 간을 여다 강바 서버시 야소된 거를 찾고 그래서 그렇게 강바도 맞다 집배로 샤면 강바 서버시 야 야소된 거를 치고 그래서 택배는 야 주의지
데 강바 샤오데 빼러나 데리 디고다 데 로고데요 백문에서 예 자기 빼 해야 돼 야게 미 기부 미 수고 타나 야고 시부 나니 엔쪽으로 매사는 나자पु라 타도 곧 쪼고 샤돼야 다도 저 네가 말해 와 진짜 저 히터서 그래서 거기에만 뉴어디 쫑어디 저기 락제르비 다 항마라데요 와 진짜 저 히터서 거다
다이네 다디 체로와게 디탄데 슈긴 로와게 다이네 태바심바 고조도 강라로와게 다이네 수구사로 수고를 가지고 오게 다 태바심벌 야 주로와게 고수고로와 지데 다 가자 수부데다 다게 고지 gyön로 주요로와 수부 사로 수고로 가지고 베르샤이나 태바심벌 야 주인데
다 세네 거 가자 거 세네 다거 디시도다 거 뉴욕저부디 배 차상 리머서 지 콜다도 비 상제나 이제 독자다 가지 흉자 가가 차상에 종sla도 호텔 히드스요
다 괜히 매버 스웨시도 수고
다 시대도 배워서 다시 신의 람공고
다 람고로 와게 so I will go back to what Geshe-la started, original example, because I thought that was a little too vague. So I said, that did work about broken leg. I've understood from other teachers, not my original, okay? So I dare not make up a story. Because either you might easily find it. But Geshe-la said, I think my example is better. So I'll translate that. Geshe-la's original example. And then come back to your question. So Geshe-la's original example is not about leg, okay, breaking leg. He said, somebody in a good health. Now, for some reason, you become very weak, isn't it? Then you take medical treatment. So now you feel much better, but still you have something, right? Are you with me? You are not yourself. That's what he says. It's like that. Metaphorically speaking, the shitty cognitive obscuration or obscuration omniscience is that. There's something still your body. Are you with me? Yeah. So that's Geshe-la's, okay? Now, bringing that back to your example, I said, now does this person need to make a new body or what's that with Mahayana path? I guess I said, no, with this Mahayana path is that now you start a new path to be able to make up for that deficiency, whatever still your right health is not completely right. So whatever that deficiency is, to be able to treat that, so you are starting a Mahayana path, and which involves developing great compassion. So that's the real challenge here. Right? Because you stay too long in the solitary peace. Does that work? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, dear Ben, maybe Subu Josha, the court and Nata Yomar died of this tradition.
So with that person whose health is a little weak, that person can still eat, right? Take nourishing food and regain his health, right? So like that regaining the health is now starting the Mahayana path. And so that brings the nourishment, if we can use that metaphor. Yeah.
Thank you. And a question online. What would happen if a person who is practicing Tantra attains non-abiding nirvana, but then breaks a tantric vow? Would they go to a Vichy hell while simultaneously being in a state of liberation? And if so, would they suffer?
Okay. First, one clarification, okay? The way I understand or I would translate that is non-abiding nirvana is the same as enlightenment. So you don't mean that. You mean the nirvana from samsara, right?
Let's say that.
Right?
Let's say that, and I
Okay,
can
okay.
get clarification. Yes.
Okay. And so let's say, okay, did I understand the question that somebody has attained nirvana, right? Okay.
He's very quick. He said, yes, liberation.
Okay.
He
So
clarifies.
somebody who attained nirvana, and did you say like this person breaks a tantric vow, take tantra, and then go to the hell or something?
Yes.
And then what?
So with this premise, there are two questions.
Yeah.
While in a Vici hell, would they simultaneously be in a state of liberation?
Uh-huh.
And would they suffer in a Vici hell? Those
Okay.
are the two questions.
Okay, thank you. It's very clear. this again. The first was Sarve Kobon top Sabe Kansa Jigis, Roge, Sarve Chazon top Sadage. That dine Shiving Ying Nin, that Tapachamba Jonanganyam Necheres, Roge. Manyam and the Southern Forest, Southern Panama, Yawa Doji thing now, Dugurovas, Roge. Dugurovas. That Doba Yimbaina, any D Kansa this, Roge. Sarva Toba Kanshi. Nyawa Narmel Uber Kansa ready or asking. And Yawa Namarina, Yawa to Yangu or was or what? Did they ever Maresa? When Yawa Sagris score again. The Southern Pone.
Yet, this word. He was able Tabaton Yamaja, and the Nog Sulshuk, Nog in Southern traditions and call in the Yardura. And then Yana near Dunga Yaya, got number, he was able to share the Hajay, call him young Lasina, and called Jobasan Gigis ladder.
Oh, this shooting again. In a Tatan Chiwa, the 7 Rovage, Tarva Topsa, Shiving Lane, Man Yamlenche, Southern Pond, Man Yawa. Southern Fire Yamar. Southern Fire Yamar.
Yamar, that's why you marry Carson called Zadon said Miguel Tegro.
I don't know. That you got chasing Gomar again.
Miguel
Okay, so that's good. So Geshe kind of understood maybe where this question is coming from. So he wanted to clarify what he said earlier. I said, I'll translate that, but I think still we need to answer that question, right? Maybe first I'll answer that question, right? It's easier and then go back to what Geshe said. So the example you gave, somebody who attained nirvana and is walking up from that state, then takes the Mayana path, tantric practice, then breaks the transgression, go to hell. That is impossibility. That never happens. Okay? Because this person now is not going to do any negativity, right? This person is completely free of delusions. Is not going to transgress tantric vow and go to the hell and experience hell and be the arahat and be in the hell at the same time. No. Okay. So that clears your question, right? Now, what Geshe said earlier is where maybe he thought the question coming from is the example he gave earlier is that two things we are comparing, right? Somebody who follows that path and attains the solitary peace of nirvana get locked into that for eons, right? Somebody follows the Mayana path, tantric vows, ordinary person, and even if you do your best, you translate root vows, you go to the AVG hell, right? You suffer. Then after many eons, you come out, still maybe your other imprints get activated, you meet the Mayana path and everything, and you could progress on the path faster towards enlightenment as compared to somebody who got absorbed into the nirvana. So if some Geshe didn't mean that somebody who attained nirvana can come back, take tantric vow, break the tantric vow, go to the hell, right? That's impossibility. Does that make sense? Yeah. So he didn't want that. What he said earlier be what he wants to offer clarification here. Yeah. Any other? Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, I'm really struggling to formulate this,
Sure.
and much of it is I'm barely a beginner and just struggling to internalize what I've learned from popular fiction as much as from being here. It is my understanding that Buddha began his incarnation as Prince Siddhartha, and that he had a life in which he knew no suffering, including that he didn't know that suffering existed, that he was so protected that he didn't know that death existed, that suffering existed. And that when he sneaked outside the walls, that was a provocation to begin a compassionate journey. It was a stark exchange of where he had been for where he needed to get in his life, the compassionate path. So is this, I don't know, maybe a perfect metaphor for what we're discussing here? Someone achieving a personal peace and then choosing the path of compassion because suddenly becoming aware that it was even necessary, that even existed.
Thank you. Morang that language ya lobjon chingeng gi da sawa ro chen shwishum go chug me sa ro ge in mora kan di shue ro bdi din de da mo sung de ro ge a di more khoda pe chewe na da ja ga ba sha je tu ro ge ani ka so shunu tunru chene den be dang be ka shebe phora na le be chune tunghe khoram go chug yo ma ro sa ro ge da dine be that 포라기 개고 추로만 전에는 시방알을 쓰네 아니 신의 닝지로 와게 아 충분된데 와서 와게 되네 라면 패자다 디 충분로 와서 그래서 다 드린 게 송세디 변에 시외잉라 슈딩에 저 와게 다디 다자된 바 비게 당보 개별 값을 슈는 와게 동네 못 추고요 말 와게 동네 하지 말 와게 열 배로 셔고도 와게 제 다디네 디말 개별 직배 지로를 마치데 동네 통보로 와미 뭐 동네 되네 신의 닝지로 와게 어디 내시 시외잉네 야 라인도 갈 미션바 동네 냐마 통인도 갈 아니 닝지 기투고요 와서게
다다들 다 디도 다사 동바제도 투모 티바 투모가 시도다 투모 시도셔로
no
투모 뭐에 티바 시모시는 다사 동바 사상 니마 제자 두상 제스고 말에 상 집에 수된 시고로 다 지라마 티바 멤버들 두상 수집에 상 집에 수 선은 상 신의 제월에서 다디다 더 모르세요 나 이래도
다이네 디 빼디다 뭐 자단디 소라게 시외잉라 슈 되겐디 소소 동에 만야데 다자들 뭐 당보로 와게 다지 습관갈 마싱원에 디 동에 우츠고요 말아서 와게 소소 냥아 요 말어 와게 다데네 디 습관갈 세인데 갈 시행이 동에 디 통에다 닝지로 와게 저다 시외잉네 소 랑사되어 갈 시행이 동에 디 통이되어 갈 아니 닝지게 투고요 왜서 다 뭐라 삼다
드드 말에 다자 또다 티모티모시 당고 거는 믿지도 지만 하시는 시에 지구세 시에 드드 쇼로 와
나오노
consumer and the change trade. Did it make that doing younger did it tone? Jidada go, Sina T was changing shield and tell some code anything using in some.
So Geshe says that when we look at the life story of Shakyamuni Buddha, as a Prince Siddhartha who was completely protected within the walls of the palace, right? He didn't have a chance to see the real world, so to speak. At that moment, it looks like he didn't know anything about all the sufferings, right? He learned later when he sneaked out, right? So because he saw those suffering people, so he was able to empathize, right? And went on away. So to understand that, Geshe said, he felt the need to, provide the two Buddhist perspectives we bring. According to Mahayana perspective, great vehicle, the story that's being told in the world is not the real story, so to speak, because Buddha had been enlightened before that. When he only came here, he was reenacting his deeds. He was already Buddha, so he's not an ordinary person. Yeah. Now, from the Theravadan perspective, or the what we call the non-Sanskrit Buddhist lineage perspective today, so they said that Buddha was just an ordinary person at that time. Okay, so he was just an ordinary person. He himself did not experience any of those sufferings, right, until he sneaked out. So when he saw them as an ordinary person, he also said, they just look like me. I could easily be this, right? And my parents have never let me do this. So he was able to do that, right? Because he's an ordinary person.
Yes, I just to put a finer point on my ignorance here, I want to say that what I'm suggesting is that in either of those traditions, saying that story is a metaphor for what we're discussing, is that accurate?
Yeah, that's what Geshe said. That story does not work completely with, like, say, Buddha being in the palace is akin to the, somebody in the solitary peace of nirvana. and then Buddha getting out of the palace and seeing all those things, right? It doesn't exactly work the same way, because those in the peace of nirvana, they cannot empathize easily because they themselves are free of suffering completely.
Okay.
Whereas Buddha, just an ordinary person, he could, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay, we will stop there today, if you don't mind. I think probably Geshe need to eat on time. So we will continue this discussion. Wonderful, thank you. Okay. So today we don't have any special prayer requests, but doesn't mean we can't think of others who need prayers. So we can do that as we do our long life prayers for our gurus and all the dedication prayers. London Jiangsu Yu Zhong Bie Ga Den Ge San Peng Wei Ju Do Min Pa Dan Ba Zin La Ji Zhu Zhang Nian Chu Gun Jiu Song Wan De Ma Wan Da Me Gun Jian Dong An Kang Lian Zhong So Nian Da Sen Zhe Zhang Gun Ya Wa Ni Wa Yap Se Ye Zhang Song Din Zi Ma Xi Ba Zi Din Jin Ji Jin Gu 谢谢尼坤常驻电子国龙座他们去北北北远李家家族工作小人说台上工厂切制准备用作有人特别拿给龙里推荐那边变电吧突然抗力大波小人让那公民在把南大官天堂这边偏在中边 轮着居民前边前来接，街上对接等，小人说，其实老面土界没浪，街上对接等当上面就着重土多去，其他面边等个轮着说，page 9。 让将心给公布这方面做到南界借用这么说说这些老早他们这些大的米线烧给我做说不定接到老上叫我也协助咱帮这边别人好的对家中国新年养对年节公布晓得 今天送给强大边面中，代表早晚说说早晚，南大吹的阳大浪巴也，路上见的别多小人，推中押金农金养百姓，上中茄子，公中写了送中这边的，代表俺大全部小人。 前边东岸国王不着的，这边的浪水域梦着，这边等等那些长着，贴着新年全部小人说，前边浪多无些在的，这边查查捏着让这个上边对接提供一些，说不定新年全部小人说，台上住了这边等等。 民众大觉这么时间吧，那天别说我前天新年全部小人说，就算叫我时间近了，昨天当真送面前来也，大家拉上这边等，其他门边等。 轮着说，抢着心着人不接马的饭。 给我娘把买把羊，国内工作拍不了说，中年大娃人不接马街。给我娘把买把羊，国内工作拍不了说，啥西北京有些没到账，为了零些年的烟巴的，上街寻找买的为我一。 如果南大兴了，就把说看的那边过来新港，现当的话马路中外，现在希望天津家族下边谁的把多点就去一当过了。 你养大养面，给我滚到养大拉满的，人们直接白了龙子。 Sada lamje yuanden rabzo doje change goban yurdu show. The one I just did is on page, usually for reference, page 13.